Welcome to a very special big boy edition of Super Freedom Brothers. That's right, we're back. We've not been canceled yet, but we may be after today. What do we got going on, Micah?
Well, leftists the world over have been looking at the emperor's clothes and admiring the emperor's clothes. As we talked about last time, we found out that the emperor has no clothes.
We love your Mr. Trudeau. I mean, his family's always been such big fans of our family. By the way, congratulations on the Canadian soccer team getting to the semi-final.
There we go. Nice pivot.
Mick Jagger's been living in a bubble for all of his life.
But did you see the look on his face like, uh-oh, I lost the crowd. All tens and tens of thousands of them. But I have to give him credit. That was a nice pivot to, how about the soccer team?
They're not your liberal echo chamber.
Big boy press conference. Big boy press conference. A big boy press conference. Hold a press conference. A big boy press conference.
Press conference, I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it. The press conference, the big boy press conference that y'all are planning to have.
Gives his press conference, his big boy press conference.
Thanks to Mark Dice.
When I heard them actually, before it happened, refer to Biden's press conference as a big boy press conference, you would think at some point someone would be fired. Someone would be released. Someone would be put on suspension. Somebody would no longer actually work there. Because at the end of the day, you're the President of the United States. You are occupying the most powerful office in the entire globe. And you have people that work for you that call it a big boy press conference. That's before we even got to the actual event, which was crazy in and of itself.
You could tell Kirby was uncomfortable saying it in the compilation you just saw. He kind of didn't want to say big boy, and neither did Karine Jean-Pierre.
They had a meeting, and we're told, here are your talking points for today. Make sure you emphasize various things included on the list. Say big boy press conference about 100 times. But who thought that was a good idea to highlight, considering the crisis mode that the White House is in right now when it comes to the competency of the president? Who thought that was a good idea to say one time, much less like a dozen times like we just saw in that collage?
Well, he did his big boy press conference yesterday, and it actually went past 8 p.m., so kudos to the big boy.
Do you think that he asked Jill for permission to stay up that late?
He said he's going to make his wife mad during the press conference.
Well, I mean, I don't know. If he did a really good job, he might have gotten an ice cream cone and then he got to toddle off to bed. But you got to get the reduced sugar or the sugar-free ice cream, because if you're going to stay up that late, you shouldn't be eating sugar.
Here's a quick look at how some of the press conference went.
I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence to be declassified. When unions do better, everybody does better. Everybody does better. And so our military is working. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military.
So I just want to say this. We're all in a lot of trouble.
I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
The big boy press conference went so well that at one point he even referred to Donald Trump as his vice president.
I think that's the kind of bipartisanship we really need in America right now, where you take your rival that you're running against in November and you just say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and make you the vice president. I don't know how Kamala Harris feels about that, but I think that's nice. And in honor of this, Micah, I am now for the rest of the show today going to refer to you as the vice president.
Well, thank you for the honor. I don't think that Donald Trump would actually take second place to Joe Biden. He wouldn't allow that to happen, but that's nice of you to
I
say
agree
that.
with you, Mr. Vice President. I agree with you.
Okay, well, let's move on.
Yes, Vice President Van Huss, we should. We should move on now, Mr. Vice President.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Look at the sign language guy. He actually spelled out Trump. He's just doing his job. He's probably not alive this morning.
Oh, I'm sure that he's just taking a very long siesta, long nap there. What? So let's get a couple of things. We got to break this down. First of all, the most obvious, he says Vice President Trump. But did you notice what kind of got lost in the rest of that clip because everybody's focusing on the fact that he called his vice president Trump, but he literally said, I picked Kamala Harris to be the vice president because she's, quote, not qualified to be president. Go back and listen to that. That's what he said. So what he's doing, that's his own, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is his way of trying to undercut her if they kick him out and run her instead to be like, well, now Trump will play that clip till the end of time where he says, I picked her to be vice president because she's not even qualified to be president. So there's a lot of moving pieces right here, and that's why you have me and the vice president over here on Super Freedom Brothers.
It's the game of the big boy thrones.
That's right, Mr. Vice President.
We have a video of his cabinet's reaction to that statement as well.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
So they're all sitting there, 25th Amendment.
I'll tell you what they're doing. They're thinking, how quickly can I update my LinkedIn profile? Because I need a new job. That one that put his, I don't know who it was, but the one guy that put his hand on his chin, and the one, the lady there that just kind of put her gaze down like, here we go again.
It's almost over is what they're telling themselves.
I'm telling you, they're updating their resumes. They're getting ready to go get their next government job. But even they could not hide. When you saw that clip right there, even they couldn't hide. Just like, really.
So believe it or not, his big boy conference and his flubs during them actually wasn't his biggest mess up of the day. In fact, just a few hours earlier, he spoke at the NATO conference where he called President Zelensky of Ukraine President Putin.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
Oh, he was doing so good there. Till right at the end, he was doing so good. Now, here's the deal. You mess up your vice president's name, that's bad enough. That just makes us, as a nation, question our leadership and question who's in charge. When you're standing at an event that is being sponsored and held by NATO, let's remind ourselves that was where he was, and he does that as he's introducing President Zelensky, who we have given hundreds of billions of dollars to. Now you're talking about possible national security issues, world stage, and how we're seen on the world stage. It can get downright dangerous real quick.
Well, he can make up for his mistake by convincing the new president of Mexico, who borders Ukraine, to help with the war against Russia.
I heard it was Vice President Trump. That's who I hear is the president.
Actually, yes. He didn't say Mexico bordered Ukraine. He said Mexico bordered Israel.
In the Gaza Strip, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza.
So he's doing real well, but he is not going to step down. Talk to us a little bit about the political ramifications of President Biden's situation, Matthew. With all of your vast political experience of 2 decades,
he's screwed. Back to you, Vice President. Whether it's big boy press conferences, whether it's meeting with world leaders, whether it's meeting with Congress, whether it be in the House or the Senate, it constantly requires him to do things like talk in complete sentences, have cogent thoughts, and be able to speak in a complete and total paragraph.
Hold on. We have to interrupt right here because President Biden is coming on to give a special message.
Good evening.
Well, you did say it was a quick message.
Silence, the president wishes to speak. Yes, that's an edited video.
I don't know what's cooler, the edited video or the fact that the doors just automatically open or close like that. That's kind of cool. But that was actually, if you think about it, that edited clip we just watched, that's the best speech he's given in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, During this entire Biden fiasco, Napoleon Bonaparte is credited with saying, "Never interrupt your enemy," when he's making a mistake. So what is Trump doing? Well, Trump's out golfing. Doing what is very hard for Trump not to do, and that's speak. So Trump is doing the right thing.
You know what? Are we talking about the golfing or the not interrupting?
Whatever Trump's doing.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Okay. All right. Well, I think that, number one, you're right. It is probably very hard for him to not interrupt Biden and speak up to what's going on. But you're also right in that the best thing for Trump to do right now is get ready to go to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, get ready to give his acceptance speech of the nomination, name his vice president, and just, let Biden be all he can be.
Immigration!
So who should Trump pick for vice president, Matthew?
Well, either Kamala Harris or you, because apparently that's the confusion now.
Come on, let's get serious on this.
Sorry. Well, you and I have talked about this off camera, and I think, what are we looking at? Who we want or who is best politically?
Well, both. You got to separate these into two separate issues. There's the politics of it and who, we as conservatives want.
Politically, and nobody's going to like this take, but politically, he should pick Ron DeSantis because of Florida, because honestly, Ron DeSantis is the next generation, whether anybody wants to admit that or not. He is the next generation of Republican national figure. So politically, I think it should probably be Ron DeSantis.
So I would, politically, my political choice for Trump would be Glenn Youngkin because he could possibly help carry Virginia, which would be huge for the Electoral College. I actually got to go knock on doors for Glenn Youngkin 2 years ago when he won. It was a pretty cool experience up in Virginia.
Okay, so then now let's do our picks for who we want him to pick. I want him to pick Ben Carson.
I want him to pick Tucker Carlson.
I want Ben Carson.
I want Tucker Carlson.
How about if Ben Carson and Tucker Carlson fought to figure out who would be the nominee?
Look,
Carson would win because he's a surgeon and he could be with the scalpels and stuff. That's how he would do it.
So I lost my train of thought. So look, I remember in 2016, the night of 2016, I think we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and that was the night we both won an election as well in 2016. And my favorite thing about Trump winning was the fact that he stuck it to the media, and the media had egg on their face after the whole Trump situation, him running for president. So as far as policy goes, the one thing that I care that Donald Trump would do in the second term is actually drain the swamp. That is what I want him to do. The deep state has gotten so bold with the convictions of Trump, all the different things that they've done. I would be okay if he just drains the swamp and calls it a day.
Well, you saw a little bit when he won in 2016. You saw him trying to duplicate what George W. Bush.
It is 2024.
In 2016, when Trump won, he tried briefly to do what George W. Bush tried to do, which is let's all get along, let's all work together, let's bring in Congress, let's bring in some folks in, I don't want to say the bureaucracy, but in the government, let's all work together. And what they do, they immediately started stabbing him in the back, started stabbing him in the side, started going out in the media and just being awful to him. So he learned very quickly that, nobody up there in D.C., for the most part, is interested in working with him. They are all very united in working against him. And now that he has that knowledge and knows that, and unfortunately has experienced it full force, when he wins in November and goes back into office, I think one of his top priorities, if not his top priority completely, is exactly what you said, and that is to drain the swamp completely.
So does Biden know something that not very many other people know? Does Biden know that the election could be rigged and he is going to win, the Democrat nominee is going to win regardless of who it is, and so Biden wants to be in that spot in order to win?
I think what it is way more simple than that. I think that he is a conduit for his family to have lots of power, to make lots of money, and they don't want the gravy train to stop. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. We talked in our last episode about where is his family. I mean, just from a sheer caring about him standpoint, human decency standpoint. Where is his family in all of this? And you know where they are? They're cashing the checks. That's where they are. They're enjoying the perks. That's where they are. And so I don't think it's anything more complicated than they just don't want the train to stop. What in the world?
All right, now we're gonna play this one a few times because look at the different faces of the different people. Look at the guy looking right down at him.
Just watch it right there.
After the president left, they sure had some words in the office for that, and that guy's still talking about it to this day.
Now look at the guy that he's shaking the hand of. He's just like, okay, because look, let's break it down. First he goes in, shakes the hand, it's all good. Then the other hand goes on the arm, caresses down the arm. The guy looks down at that and it's like, hey, cool. Could you not do that? That would be great. If they kept the camera on, who knows? He probably would have started sniffing him or something.
Well, Biden's just remembering that time a couple years ago when he talked about being at the pool and his white legs and all the hair on his white legs. He's remembering that and he's like, man, why can't my hair be as lush and soft as this?
And to get hot, I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
That's a no-no.
That's called a stroke, Matthew.
Yeah, I think so. But I have
a caress.
I have shaken tens of thousands. Stop that, Mr. Vice President, please. Thousands
we'll
of
keep
hands.
it above the table.
Thank you. And yeah, you shake the hand. Maybe you put your hand on their arm just to make the handshake a little firmer. Never did I start woo. No. You don't do that. That's weird.
Weird.
In 2010, Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor co-signed a dissent in which she said that the Constitution does not protect a private right of armed self-defense. She is vehemently against the Second Amendment rights of Americans. Well, it comes full circle because this week, 2 armed U.S. Marshals sitting outside of her home, presumably her bodyguards, shot one Kentrell Flowers as he pulled a gun on them and tried to carjack them. So the Second Amendment is only good for the elites? What do you think, Matthew?
Well, of course that's what they think. They think that all the time. That's why a lot of the elites carry firearms themselves or have bodyguards that are armed to the teeth, because that's okay. But if you want to protect yourself or your family, no, you can't do that.
Look, the Second Amendment does exist for us to hold off a tyrannical government. That's how our country was founded. My opinion is that every law-abiding American citizen should be armed at least equal to that of the basic infantry unit of the fighting force of the United States of America. Now, I can say that because I was part of the Marine Corps infantry for a couple years, and that does not mean machine gunners. Machine gunners and grunts are 2 different things in the Marine Corps and the Army as well. So I don't mean machine guns when I say that. Look, if the fighting force has the weapon, as far as the basic infantry unit, I think that we as Americans should be able to carry that because the Second Amendment's purpose is to be able to fight off a tyrannical government when our liberties are being infringed.
Well, and when you say it like that, you would think, wow, that sounds like common sense. It sounds like that we're going to be able to protect ourselves, our families, and protect against, as you said, a tyrannical government. Well, that's not how the elites look at it. Remember, it's okay for them to have armed security guards surrounding them, their homes, and their vehicles. It's okay for them personally to have firearms for their protection. But for some reason, there's a cognitive disconnect between themselves and the rest of us because, according to them, we're not allowed to have firearms. We don't need firearms. We're too irresponsible. How dare we think that we should be able to protect ourselves and our families?
The city of Chicago has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the country, and over this last 4th of July weekend, over 100 people were shot. Look, guns aren't the problem. Evil is the problem. In fact, most common denominators in these is the fact that these men, and in some cases women, such as the Nashville shooter, they don't have a father in the home. Look, we have gotten away from biblical morals, biblical values, and we have torn down the family in this country. And without those biblical values, guess what? Society breaks down into barbarism, which is every man doing what's right in his own eyes. So guns are not the problem. evil and evil people are the problem.
And Richard Nixon is not the problem. Because there was the mayor, I don't know if it was the mayor of Chicago, it was the mayor of one of the large cities that said that the reason that they had violent gun crime was because of Richard Nixon and Richard Nixon's policies. Look, I know we might be a little confused about who the vice president of the United States is, but I know Richard Nixon is not the president, nor has he been the president for like 50 some odd years. So I know it's not Richard Nixon's fault.
Do you remember a few days ago in Kentucky when there was a shooting? Allegedly, Chase Garvey shot 7 people at a birthday party. Well, it turns out that in 2022, the shooter was convicted of a 13-year-old girl. Left-wing judge Kathleen Lape gave him probation and no jail time for his crime. It's time we implement the death penalty for child rapists.
For the record, when I served in the Tennessee legislature, I proposed and authored a bill to do just that. It, at the time, did not pass, and you might say, why in the world would that not pass? Because I was told that it would, quote, cost too much money to house the in the government-controlled prison system. Well, I don't want them to be held in the government-controlled prison system. I want them to be executed. That was the point of the legislation. However, there is good news to report.
Here in the state of Tennessee, this year, the legislature did just that. House Bill 1663, led by Majority Leader William Lamberth, an awesome dude, by the way. He passed that bill in the House. It passed in the Senate with Jack Johnson, and Governor Bill Lee signed it into law. William Lamberth and Governor Lee, you rock.
Good job, guys. Way to get it done.
So Matthew and I, we have a relationship with William Lamberth. He was our colleague for many years, and we actually have some behind-the-scenes footage of Majority Leader Lamberth.
I'm sorry, William. Look at that, the musical skill, the coordination. Good job. William is a dual threat. He can play the saxophone and he can legislate.
Just kidding. That's not really William Lamberth. No. But we like to tease him with that video.
Yes, because he is epic, just like that video.
William, keep up the good work, sir.
Absolutely.
Right now, we look at the Senate map of the United States and we see that Republicans have an advantage. We go to the state of Montana where you have Tester, who is a Democrat incumbent in a very red state. Right now, they've got it as a toss-up, but this will possibly be a pickup for Republicans.
You go to Texas and you see the race with Ted Cruz versus Allred, and right now, in the last time Ted Cruz was up for re-election, that was what's his name? The guy that liked to talk about going to the dentist all the
2018
time.
O'Rourke.
Yeah,
Beto.
Yeah, good old Beto there, and everybody was like,
Beto.
"Oh, it's going to be so close! It's going to be so close!" And then the turnout of the Republicans came in a pretty big wave there at the very end. Well, you see where we are right now, and Cruz is up pretty handily. As long as the turnout stays where it should, I mean, they've got him up almost 8 points. It should stay there. And I'm kind of surprised, and I don't know the inside story on it or anything, but I'm kind of surprised Ted Cruz is running again. I thought that he would hang it up after this last term, but I'm glad that he is, because we need his voice and we need him continuing to stand up for our conservative values.
I actually supported Ted Cruz back in the 2016 primary. Was happy to support Trump for the
Vice
general.
President, I don't understand why you would do that.
Well, Ted Cruz rocks. He's the Cruz missile in the Senate. In fact, when I was first elected to the Tennessee legislature, I wanted to be the Ted Cruz of the Tennessee House of Representatives.
Well, now think about it, though. You're a trendsetter because you grew a beard out before Ted Cruz did. He saw your beard and he was like, wait a minute, I want to be like Vice President Micah. And so then he grew out his beard.
Historically, the Democrat Party has had around 90% of the black vote, but that may not be the same this election cycle.
Okay, so who will you be voting for in 2024, Daryl?
Do I have to say his name? I don't want to, but more than likely it's gonna be Trump.
Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Who are you gonna be voting?
Biden.
And then Victor?
I'm with her.
Oh, Biden, okay.
Trump.
Trump?
Biden.
Biden?
Trump.
Okay, we're an even split, which I didn't see that coming.
So obviously that's 50-50, but to get accurate results, you have to have at least 300 votes. But it will be interesting to see what numbers President Trump gets.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
it's going to be an important election.
Go back just 2 election cycles, and if they had done their little focus group there, it would have been 6 for Biden and 0 for Trump. Forget half and half, but you saw the guy's reaction that was asking the question. He was just like, didn't really expect that. Well, I bet you didn't, because it's really not that difficult when you look at polling and you see that, after the horrible debate and at best a questionable big boy press conference, don't worry, Biden's only a couple points behind, they'll say, or he's neck and neck with Trump. Here's what I would encourage you to do. If you see any published polls online that say Trump and Biden are neck and neck or Biden's in the lead, go to the details of the poll and see who they really questioned. Did they actually poll likely registered voters? If it was likely registered voters, then it has a little bit more legitimacy to it. Not just human beings breathing or people that just happen to be 18 years old that they saw at the McDonald's drive-thru, but likely voters that are actually registered to vote. The second thing is, if you can, in some of these polls online won't give you the details. Some you have to dig a little deeper, but they'll give you the information. You want to see how the poll was distributed, the distribution of the sample size, the people that were asked. For instance, if you go to New York City and you ask, and your total sample size of people you asked who you're for president, who you're going to vote for president, 90% of them you asked are Democrats, 10% are Republicans. Guess who's going to be in the lead? The Democrat, Biden, is going to be in the lead. So the sample size has to be even as well. I know that's a little bit in the weeds, but we dealt with polling for years and years on our legislative level, and you learn a lot really fast, because it's like, if you're looking for false hope, there's a way to manipulate the poll to give you a lot of false hope. If you're looking for reality, sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper.
Well, not to mention, you're talking about the general election, Biden versus Trump, and the Democrat nominee for the last couple of elections has won the popular vote. And if Biden and Trump are tied in the popular vote, well, we got the Electoral College, and in these states like Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, those are the battleground states. Those are the states that are going to determine the outcome. And if Trump is tied in the popular vote, that spells bad news for Biden. And so the liberal media, as they always do, are trying to run cover for the Democrat Party. And once again, you'll never believe what they're bringing up in this election cycle.
Alien abductions.
Nope. Russia. Again.
Again? What's Russia doing now?
The liberal media is claiming that Russia is working right now to undermine President Biden and support President Trump.
Let me give you a little clue. Russia is always trying to undermine America because they're our enemy. It's not that difficult. But to pull out the old canard of Russian collusion, because they've tested that phrase, I guess, I don't know if it still gets a reaction like it used to, but when all else fails, go back to what you know. And what do they know? Russian collusion. Come on, people.
Yeah. So this week, the SAVE Act cleared the United States House of Representatives with a vote of 221 to 198. 198 Democrats voted against the SAVE Act, which would require that people who come to vote prove their United States citizenship. Imagine the days that we're living in when only 5 of over 200 Democrats vote that you actually have to be a citizen to vote in the United States elections.
Okay, pause, if you could, Mr. Vice President. It's my understanding you have to be a citizen of this country to vote anyway. So all this bill was going to do was say you have to verify that the person voting is a United States citizen, which is already a requirement to vote in our country.
Yeah. And that's on the front end. The verification's on the front end of voting, whereas right now the laws are on the back end. You're basically a felon, an illegal felon, if you are not a citizen and you vote. So, but as we've seen with the border and everything else, on the back end, people never get caught. The Democrat Party's not interested in people getting caught. The Biden Justice Department is not interested in people getting caught.
Don't worry, though. The Democrats are here to save democracy. That's why they're here, to save democracy. And look, they sort of didn't do that with the SAVE Act. But they're here to save, just ask them, they'll tell you. They're here to save democracy.
Thanks for watching our second episode of Super Freedom Brothers. If you did not like us, I appreciate you staying this long. But if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and maybe even comment. If you would like to get a copy of any of my books, you can do so at marginalmysteries.com. My first book is Ancient Cities and the Gods Who Built Them, where we talk about the advanced technology of mankind and their inability to have built them many thousands of years ago. My second book, The Earth as It Was, where I talk about my speculation, biblically based, about how it was in the days of Noah, creation, dinosaurs, and the flood. My latest book, Secret Societies, Blood Never Sleeps, where obviously I talk about secret societies, the origins of secret societies, the mission of secret societies, and the conclusion of secret societies. Also, right now, I'm almost done with my book, Angels Eternal, where I talk about the spiritual realm and all kinds of fascinating topics with that. So if you're interested in getting any of these books, you can do so at marginalmysteries.com, marginalmysteries.com.